Hello and welcome to Hello Fall. My name is Tricia and I'm going to be doing a video today on this painting here. I'm going to be taking you step by step on instruction on how to paint this. On the comments below there is a virtual tip jar if you want to leave a tip. If not, this is a free video. You can watch it as many times as you like at your leisure. Are you guys ready to get started? I am.
Me too.
So for this painting, you are going to need a surface to paint on. Now this one was done on canvas, but I'm going to switch it up for the tutorial and I'm going to do it on this nice piece of wood because I love fall paintings on wood. I think they look really nice if you use them for your home decor. And if you're using wood, you just want something that's been sanded down, okay? One thing with wood, it will absorb the paint, so you probably will go through more paint if you're painting with wood. But it looks awesome. It's worth the extra paint. If you don't have wood, a canvas or paper will even do. You could do like a canvas paper, whatever you have. This is a 16 by 20 canvas if you are doing canvas. So I am doing acrylic paints. I've got different colors here. For this painting, if you're limited with your colors, you could just simply use the primary colors, which is red, yellow, and blue, and then white and black. And you can mix all kinds of colors with those. But if you have more colors, what I would suggest is I'm going to be using this lovely aqua. It's called Bright Aqua Green. I'm also going to be using this lovely olive. It's called Light Olive Green. And I may use a little bit of this for the sky. This is a turquoise blue. I like using this for some of the leaves, and this is called Magneta. It's pretty too. You're gonna want a nice Chrisman red, okay? If you're using blue to make green in that, you wanna use phthalo blue because that makes a big difference in the color of greens and blues you're gonna get. So that would be good to do. You're also gonna want to have a jar with some different brushes. You probably want a brush that is fairly small for some of the finer details that we're gonna do. You're gonna want a medium-sized brush for some of this area that's not really big, but it's not really small. And then maybe just a little bit of a bigger brush for some of this areas like the rug, or the rug. It's not a rug, it's a road, like the road, okay? So something like that. Thing you're gonna wanna do is I would recommend either a pencil to sketch this out first or a piece of chalk. I love using chalk when I'm doing my paintings because it's very easy to erase if you make a mistake. And I say, if you really want a nice painting, the best thing to do is to sketch it out first. If you're starting with a good sketch, you're gonna get a good painting. So often we can just dive into a painting, and sometimes that works out. Sometimes it's fun to try that to see where the painting kind of takes you. But a lot of times if you have a little bit of a sketch planned out, it's just gonna take some of the stress off when you are painting out your painting. Okay, so I am going to get started. I'm also gonna be using Hello Fall, and I have a stencil that I am going to put with this video that you can print off that says Hello Fall. You can find different ones online if you want, and you're able to trace that on and do it that way. You can do that. If you have a Cricut machine or Cricut machine, and you are able to print off something like this, that is even better. Or you can freehand it. It's your painting, you can see. Okay, so I'm gonna get started here. I'm gonna just put my painting off to the side, and we are gonna be working with this nice piece of wood. So first thing we're gonna do is I'm gonna pick up my chalk and I'm gonna sketch out the truck. So the truck is just rectangles. We're gonna do, start with the cab part. We wanna be making sure the cab part comes about halfway up your canvas, okay? The upper part will be the top part of your truck, and you wanna make sure you're leaving enough space down here for your road, and then the bumper goes on the bottom. So it's just really rectangles, but they're a little bit whimsical. So instead of doing straight lines going like this, you're gonna have your lines go off to the side a little bit, and you can have some rounded edges instead of just like sharp corners. You can do whatever you want. If you like more straight lines and more sharper corners, then do that. So I'm gonna have at least a good handprint from my bottom. That's about there. And we are gonna start here by doing this line here. Now, I wanna make sure there's a good couple inches on either side of my canvas, okay? So you can measure if you wanna be exact, or you can just use your hands to kind of do that. So I'm gonna be like, this is kind of gonna come up like this. Like I said, this is kind of going out. A little bit of a slant, a little bit of slant. Nice thing about chalk is if you're off on your lines and your measurement, you can erase it. I'm doing a darker chalk. Normally I do lighter, but I want this to show up for you guys so you can see it. So this will all get painted over. So these extra lines. So I've got a couple inches here, a couple inches here, okay? So that is the cab part. And inside the cab part, again, it's got another little box, rectangle here, and this part is where we're going to have the words Happy Fall. Okay, so I've rounded these edges, kind of like this, that, okay? Next, we're going to do the top part. So again, you're going to go in just maybe an inch or so on either side. You can kind of measure. And this again is kind of coming out on a bit of a slant, and it's going up. So the main part of this whole painting is the truck. So you do want to make it big, okay? It does need to be a good size, or your painting's going to look out of sorts in some way. This is the area where we're going to be putting the pumpkins, so we want to make sure we got enough space in here to load up our cab with pumpkins. Pumpkin patch mobile. All right, and then down here, I'm going to put the bumper. Again, the bumper is kind of vented. It's got a little bend to it, round edges. They're kind of fun. It does come out on either side. So here and here, I've got it coming out. And if you've made this area too big, overlap it. Put your bumper up on the cab part a little bit if you want. So again, the nice thing with using the chalk or pencil, whatever you're using, is you can erase it, fix it till it kind of lines up. So there we have. Let's see, make that a little bigger. You want to try to make it symmetrical so that they're equal on both sides, but if they're not, it's okay. That's the nice thing about this, is whimsical. So it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to totally match up. You can kind of get away with it with this painting. So here is like where you've got the sides, just go in a little bit, and I'm going to put, it's like a giant U. That's our wheel. And we're going to do another one here. It's 2 wheels. There we go. There we have the truck. See? Not hard. So far, so good. Then we're going to draw the road, which it just, again, it's coming out like on a slant, and it's going to the corner of your canvas or wood or whatever you're creating on. But you want to make sure the wheels are on the road. So again, if you have to, you can kind of line things up this way just to make sure that you're lining them up. If I can kind of erase this with water. Yeah. Just so you guys can see a bit better. Okay. So there we have that. Just up past the bumper, I'm just going to put a line here and a line here that goes across. That is going to show that is the horizon line. That is where my grass and my sky are going to meet. Okay, is down here. So this is 1/3 of the painting is ground, and then the rest is sky. Okay, next we're going to draw these fun little mirrors that are just sticking out the side. So I'm going to just do there again, little rectangles. Just want to try and make them both the same size, kind of like sideways 7s that you're drawing there. Okay, then we're gonna put the pumpkins in. And the pumpkins are kind of fun. They're just big balls, really, but they can be different shapes. They can be long, some are wider, some are smaller. And what I recommend when you're doing the pumpkins is that you do all kinds of different sizes and shapes. So just to show you on the original really quick here, this one's quite big and round. This one's taller and longer. I've got one back here, another big round one, a small little guy here, and one over here. These guys are overlapping the edges here because they're in the cab, okay? I did one white one, which is fun. But again, you can do different styles. You don't want to have them probably all looking the same and the same height. It won't be as interesting to look at. You could do that, but it's kind of fun if you can make them a variety of shapes and sizes. So that's what we're gonna do. So my first one is gonna be this big guy. And I think I have about 6 pumpkins on here, but you can decide how many you want. So it's just like really a half circle. This guy's tucked behind and he's long. So something like that. And we got one that's in the front here. He's another fairly good sized pumpkin. Then I did a little guy here that's overlapping. And then I've got one that's kind of just tucked over here. Not gonna worry about doing the stems because they're gonna get covered with paint because it'll be very hard to go around stems when I do this. So that kind of gives you an idea there. We also, one thing I did forget to do, oops, is in here is you're gonna do these lines, just the frame of your truck. So this is all gonna be the window. This line is kind of gonna follow the same shape. So it's got a bit of a bend to it, like that. All right, and that is our painting. So like I said, now that we got it sketched out, we can just go ahead and paint and it's gonna come together so much better for you guys. I'm gonna put also my little license plate is gonna go in here. It's just a little square. That's where it's gonna go. All right, so the first thing we're gonna do is we are gonna start with the window, and I'm gonna use a medium-sized brush, okay, something like this. And I am also going to use some black and white paint, okay? So I'm gonna take some white paint, a little bit of black. Now you don't want too much black because black is quite dark, as you know, and it will overpower very quickly, so just a little bit. And I'm going to fill in, I'm going in this direction. So do you see I'm going diagonally? I'm going on a slant here, and I'm filling in the window. This back window of my truck. Kind of fun. So if you're working on canvas, you just don't want any of the canvas peeking through. If you're working on wood, it's kind of the same thing. You want to cover that surface. If you're working on wood and it's really taking a lot of paint to fill in your sections, what I would recommend is just even wetting your brush a bit to help spread the paint. That might help. So when you get around your pumpkins, you're gonna just have to go really close into the pumpkin, just go right along that chalk or whatever pencil lines that you've done. And we're just going on a diagonal and we're filling in this space, which is really fun. So while I have this gray color on my brush and mixed up, what I like to do then is I like to look and see what else do I need to paint in my painting the same color, because it just makes it easier than having to remix these colors all over again. Now if your gray gets too dark, you could just simply add some white to it, or vice versa. If it's too light, just add a little bit of black to it. You just want good coverage on it. Okay. So my bumper is gray. So it's a light gray. It's kind of like metal. So I'm going to just paint this I'm just adding a little bit more white, and I'm going right over top of my chalk lines. And you might pick up some color, like if you did yours in blue, you're gonna pick up some of the blue in your paint from the chalk, but that's okay, because I find it adds some, usually it works for your benefit with the painting. Actually looks really good. Actually adds another little hint of a color there that looks good. So I'm doing both sides. I've got my license plate in the middle, so I'm just going around that. You could just do the whole thing and map out your license plate later. I'm just doing it this way because I feel like it. Oops. So when you get too dark of color like that, just add white. Acrylics are great. They're very forgiving, very easy to kind of work with. And these are kind of rounded edges again on my bumper. It's got like a little bit of a bend in it. There we go. Okay. And the other spot where there's some gray, and again, it's a very light gray, is here where our mirrors are. So I'm just gonna fill this in. And again, this in. Just two little boxes off the side of my truck. So there we have a good chunk of our truck already painted. Look at that. Awesome. Okay, so next I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to wash it off because I'm going to be switching colors. So you want a jar with water, handy. Give it a good rinse, and I have a rag usually with me to be able to wipe off any excess paint, because sometimes even though you rinse it off in the jar, you still have paint that kind of lingers on your brush. So I'm just going to rinse that off. And I am going to now start filling in the truck. So I'm using this light, what was it called? Or bright, I love this color. Bright aqua green, okay? This is Liquitex Basics acrylic paint. And I am just gonna have, it's quite thick, this paint. And I'm gonna start working this in. So if it's really thick, just have your brush a little bit wet. It will dilute it a little bit, but it will spread it a lot quicker and nicer for you. And you just wanna go again over those lines that you drew. The best is to use like white chalk if you can see it. If you're painting on a white surface, you can't really use white chalk because you won't see anything. But if you have a little bit of color on the surface already that you're working on, you could use white chalk and that would show up. And this is just kind of like painting by number without the numbers, because you're just like coloring in a coloring book. You're just staying in the lines now. Coloring in the lines, so. And you can do whatever color you want for your truck. I mean, I've seen this style of painting done in red trucks. You could do like a fun bright yellow truck. You could use fall colors. It's meant to be a fall painting. So even an orange truck, whatever. But you could experiment with different colors. I'm doing this and I'm gonna put like the brown and orange on it so it makes it look like it's got a little bit of rust and a little bit of wear and tear on this old fun truck, and we're gonna do that after. So I will be adding other colors over top of this color of, I guess it's green, not even blue, but of this color. And but first I'm going to paint the whole thing in with this aqua, or no, this wasn't aqua, sorry, bright green, this bright aqua green color. So there, I've got the box. I'm leaving this because this is going to be a lighter shade, so I'm going to leave that for right now. Just going to do this. And then again, the top. Okay, so I'm just working this in here. The mirror I'm going to outline, but I'm not going to do that just yet. We'll do that after. So I'm just going to work this in here, this nice color. Again, if it's really soaking in the paint, you're going to want to add some water to it. Yeah, this will be lovely for fall. So yeah, I don't have any leaves falling right now from my trees out back, but I know it's coming. I know the raking is just around the corner. And I gotta say, I don't love raking. But fall is definitely a pretty time. A lot of people love fall. A lot of people I talk to, they say that's their favorite season. It must be all the colors, and just the change, I guess, maybe. Okay, so I'm gonna try and make these even. So I don't wanna go any thicker on this side because it won't be even to this side. So if you miscalculated, like I did, you're gonna have to mix some gray up and just fill in that section. And that really is no big deal, but you don't want it to look so out of proportion. Okay, so there we have the first part of our truck done. I'm just gonna go right up to those lines. I just wanna make sure none of them are peeking through, everything's covered. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take actually some orange. I'm not gonna worry about washing my brush either. I'm gonna take some orange because this is all getting mixed in. And maybe a little bit of brown, not much. Brown will, again, it's kind of like black. It overtakes pretty quickly. Would you like my palette? It's hard to know what color is wet. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna not all over my entire truck, but in certain spots, see how this kind of gives it, I'm gonna smudge this on, and I don't got a ton of paint on my brush, but it gives it the illusion that, you know, it's kind of roughed up, it's a little bit dirty or a little bit of rust happening there. And it also just creates a little bit more interest in my truck than just being one solid color. And if your truck is still wet with the blue, you can still put this on. It doesn't have to be dry. In fact, sometimes having it wet was just gonna help you blend it a little bit. If it's dry, I think it will work fine too. I've done it both ways. So you can decide how much of that look you want on yours. And if you get too carried away and you get too much on, just take your color. So I'm just doing that, and I'm just taking away some of that rust color again. So it's very easy to fix if you do decide that you didn't want that much on there. I'm gonna put a little bit here. And we've got some up in this corner. It's a little bit of wear and tear. These old, I guess they're like old Chevy trucks. Pumpkin truck, pumpkin patch, farm truck. All right, I love going to the pumpkin patch though in the fall. We'll say that. More in October, but kind of a family tradition of ours to always go pick out pumpkins in the pumpkin patch with the kids every year. So we always look forward to that, and hopefully we pick a day that is warm. Sometimes we've been out there when it's freezing. All right, so there I've kind of added that, roughed that up a little bit, which I like. You could do a little bit of that even on your bumper if you wanted to. You don't have to. Could be a little rusty. These bumpers do get rusty. This is an old truck, so I'm just picking up the orange. Got some white in there and some brown in there. I'm putting a little bit of that. It's gonna have a different look than when I'm painting on the canvas, because it's brighter on the canvas because the background's white, but I still really do like this. Okay, so I'm gonna paint this color, the aqua green that I used here, but I'm gonna add white to it, and I'm gonna lighten this part. So I'm just gonna wash my brush because it's got some dark colors on it, and I'm gonna dry it off. And I'm going to take my aqua and some white. And I'm gonna paint this a different color. Now, if you're not getting too much change from that to that, just add a little more white in there. And this you can go back and forth with, but I'm gonna kind of scrub it. It's gonna be a little bit messy. I want it to look a little bit rough. So my lines along this part might be a little sharper, but in here they're gonna be kind of more sporadic. And just add some water in there. If you're painting on canvas, you probably don't want to be using a lot of water with your paint because the canvas isn't going to soak in the paint quite the same as what the wood does. Wood really soaks up paint. You kind of got to play around with it and see, you know, what kind of works, what doesn't. All right. Well, hopefully you guys are all getting your trucks painted in there. And this hasn't been too stressful, but it's fun. It really does help when you've kind of drawn it out. So then all you have to do is color it in. And coloring usually isn't too stressful. So let's go with that for painting too. So anywhere you want to add a little more color, just pick up your aqua. Do you like my rag? I often will use this as my rag because I'm just too lazy to pick up that. So you can use your apron, paint on it as your rag as well. Whatever works. So again, you just want to make sure the wood is covered. I mean, if it's not, I think you could get away with letting the wood kind of pop out in this one because of the nature of this painting. I think it would look great too. So there, so you can see I have a lighter shade from here, and that's kind of what I'm going for. And this is gonna say, hello fall. You don't have to put hello fall. You could do happy fall. You could put all kinds of things in there. Whatever you want. Your pumpkin patch, hello pumpkin, welcome to the pumpkin patch. I don't know, you could do all kinds of fun stuff in there. Okay, so there I've got my truck. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my small brush now. Let's just do some more finishing touches on this truck. I'm gonna pick up my aqua color and I'm gonna outline this fun little mirror. So I'm not going outside of my lines, I'm going inside of them. So I'm going over the chalk that I've drawn. I'm not gonna make these bigger because they don't need to be bigger. And just putting that in there. Okay, so there we go. And then I am going to wash that off. I'm going to take some white paint. This is going to be my license plate. So I'm going to paint this part where my license plate is going to be. And on my license plate, I had written the word fall. But again, you can be creative and you can write something totally different. First though, I'm going to paint it white. Maybe your license plates are not white. I know they've changed it so that I think they're now blue here in Ontario. I'm going to take a dark blue and I'm going to outline this a bit. So I've got it colored in white and then a dark blue, and I'm just outlining. It's just a box, and inside of it it's going to say fall. And if you wanted to like not look so pretty perfect, you could just smudge some blue paint in there a little bit too. I like smudging. It's kind of fun. This is kind of rustic. It's on wood. You can smudge away. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is still using my small brush, but I'm washing off all of my paint. I am going to definitely want my brush wet for this, and I'm going to, even on canvas, you might want your brush a bit wet. I'm going to pick up the brown, and I'm going to outline part of my truck. So I'm going to outline, start off here, and I'm going to be outlining the bumper. Now, if you don't want really thick lines, again, if you have it a little bit wet, you can smudge it and make it look like, oh, I meant to do that. I meant to have that kind of look. And that will kind of distract your eye from the fact that maybe your lines aren't perfectly straight. Maybe they are, maybe you just want to have them really perfectly outlined. You can do that. But I like when you smudge it, it kind of casts a little bit of a shadow at the same time. And around that, I got this this fun bumper pretty much outlined. So we're not gonna outline the entire truck. We're only gonna outline some of it. I outlined, however, most of the bumper. You don't have to. And I'm just taking some water. On wood, you could take some water and kind of smudge it. On canvas, just take your finger and smudge it a bit. And again, you could put some rust on there. If you want your bumper to look rusty, you're gonna add a little bit of that orange and brown in there. So you can accent it as much as you want. Again, I'm going to put some brown and accent some of that inner box here. And if the brown is too dark for you, you could do brown and yellow together, and that will dull down your brown a bit. So the nice thing about this video too, doing this in a video, is you guys can stop the video anytime you want and get caught up. That's why I'm going to move fairly quickly, because if you're able to stop it and just get caught up, you can. So I'm putting just some brown lines in here, just outlining that a little bit. I'm gonna mix some brown and yellow just to show you what brown and yellow looks like. Where else do I want to accent some? Not a whole lot more, just a little bit maybe in here. Maybe along here. Anywhere where it might look like it needs to be accented a bit or more defined, maybe put those lines. But I wouldn't outline the whole thing. I mean, you could, it's just more work, and it's going to give you a different look altogether. So again, it's your painting, so you're the artist. You can do whatever you want with it. It's more of a brown yellow there. Okay, maybe just do a bit more up in here. And even along here. So fun. This will look great if you're putting up fall decor in your house too, not just for your porch. I think I'm gonna put this one on my porch because it's wood. I mean, but you could put it in your house too. All right, yay! Okay, so I'm gonna just, because this is bugging me, I'm gonna fix that little spot with some more gray paint. See how I cut it a little short in here? So I'm gonna come back with some gray paint and just cover that so that there's no wood showing there. And if you have, I've got gray paint on. You could even put a little bit of lines in here, like a little bit of a glare if you wanted to. You don't have to, but you could. Okay, so next you're gonna do the pumpkins. Pumpkins are fun. Okay, so we got our truck done. Pumpkins we're gonna do in a couple different colors. So again, I'm gonna use this brush. It's a medium-sized brush. It has a nice rounded edge to it. I'm gonna use oranges, reds, yellows. You can do burgundy, browns in there. So even greens in there. So keep in mind, this one is gonna be white. So I'm gonna do that first. So this guy, I just like having the one white one there. You could do a couple white, or you could do those, what are they called? Phantom pumpkins. They're blue. Have you guys seen those? Those are cool. I like those blue pumpkins. You could do some blue if you wanted to. Be creative. Okay, so this one is going to be my white pumpkin amongst the orange pumpkins. Okay, I'll probably put another coat on that, but that's my beginning step for that pumpkin. Okay, so now I'm going to mix orange. So you can mix orange with yellow and red if you don't have orange. If you have your orange, you can use it. If you have red, you can use red and orange. I'm gonna do one side that's gonna be darker, one side lighter, just to show some difference from pumpkin to pumpkin. And I'm gonna try to do different variations of oranges and colors in my pumpkins, just again, to make them a little more interested. If you guys, when the pumpkins are ready, just spend some time really looking at a pumpkin. You'll notice there's a lot of different colors in there. There's different lines. There's a lot to it than just one color. So it's kind of fun to just really look at things like that closely, because we often just, you know, someone said draw a pumpkin. Well, you're probably gonna just draw a round circle and color it orange. But there's a lot more to pumpkin. So as you can see, I've got this red that I'm starting with here on this edge. Put red on here. And so it really stands out here. I'm going to put some more orange on here now. So my darkest part of this pumpkin is going to be on the left side. So it's like if the light was hitting here, this side of your pumpkin would be, if it's hitting here, this side would be all light. We'll worry about putting the lines and all that after. But I want them pretty bright because this is like been dulled down a lot, and just so we get real contrast. So orange and this green, or red, orange, and this green are complementary colors, which means they complement each other. They look great together. You don't want to mix them together. You'll get a really yucky color, but next to one another, they look great. So this one I'm going to start with the orange. I'm not going to put any red with this. And see, I've got these chalk lines that are creating a dark color when I'm putting this paint on, and I actually really like that. So sometimes, you know, the chalk can enhance your painting, even though you don't necessarily mean that. There's a lot of things that happen when you paint that are not intentionally something you meant to do, but make an amazing painting. Now, if you want to get rid of some of the darker color, you're gonna have to rinse off your brush. I'm gonna pick up just yellow, okay? I know this is gonna be really light, but I'm gonna mix it. And so I'm gonna start pulling over the orange over here. Now you're seeing I'm getting this really dark color. That's because the yellow and the blue and the orange, the blue from my chalk, is creating a totally different color. And I actually really like it. So if you wanted to cover up something because you didn't like it, you put white over top of it, let it dry, and then go over it. So you can see that this is lighter on this side and darker on this side. All right, let's try something really different. Let's try a little bit of the magenta. Is that how you say it? Magenta. Magenta. How do you say that? Magenta? Magenta. No.
Magenta?
Magenta. Let's try a little bit of the magenta. Thank you to my husband. It's really bright. I'm going to overlap this. It's kind of purple, but we're not done, and it's going to be really fun. So I'm going to just do that because I want to overlap that. I want to have a difference from that pumpkin to that pumpkin. Okay. And I'm going to fill that in, and then I'm going to wash that off because it will be pretty dark on my brush. Use my handy rag. And I'm going to take my orange, just orange, ta-ta-da, and I'm going to brush it over. Get a fun colored pumpkin. There. All right, so this guy, I'm going to make maybe a little bit lighter. So I'm going to start with yellow and white, and just a light orange. You can mix white and orange too. Okay, so now I'm going to do my last pumpkin here, and I'm going to mix up white and yellow. So it's going to be a fairly light pumpkin. It's going to be fun. And then we're going to bring some orange into it, you'll see. So again, I'm going over these chalk lines. I want to cover this Going over the edge here. It's a rounded shape. I'm gonna pick up some orange with a little bit of white now. It's gonna be more peachy. But like I said, pumpkins are all different kind of colors. If you really study them, there's lots of color in there. Put that in. I'm gonna overlap some of that yellow because I don't want it that much. So you can have a nice light one. I'm gonna add a little bit more orange in there. And you can just kind of play with it until you get kind of the color you like. This one's tucked behind this one. This one's in the front. I mean, you could add more into this window. You could have corn stalks, you could have sunflowers, you could get really creative. You could put a little mess sitting on there. I don't know. You name it. So we will add some lines and some more definition to our pumpkins after, but first we're just doing, coloring them in there. So I want to do a little bit of green with this white one. You could do blue for the phantom paint, pumpkin, but I'm going to add a little green, and I'm going to use this nice, it's called light olive green, and I'm just going to put a little bit in here, just so it's not like solid white. I want most of it white. I just want a little bit of green to it. Okay, so there I've got my pumpkins painted. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some lines in them. So again, I'm going to go back to my small brush. Actually, before I put the lines in, I'm going to put my stems in. So when I do my stems, I don't want them just coming out the tops of my pumpkins. I want them coming out from a place inside the pumpkin, okay? And the stems can be windy, they can be twirly, they can be stubby and short, they can go in different directions. I'm gonna use my small brush. I'm using brown and black paint because I want to make them a little darker. So I'm making a nice chocolatey kind of brown. First one we're gonna have, it's gonna kind of come off like this. It's gonna have a bend to it. And then the base, I just kind of make it so it's like kind of comes out. It gets wider at the base of it and then it kind of comes out like that. I'll do next one is the white one. I'll do my base, kind of almost like a triangle. And like I said, some of them could be thicker, some can be thinner. You kind of decide what you want to do with them. It's that one. It's black and brown. This one will just kind of have a curve. I don't know if pumpkins are even ready yet. They may be, I haven't really looked. I'm sure they'll be coming out very soon. Got that one. This one I'm going to kind of have it more coming up. Kind of straight. So what we love to do with pumpkins is we love to paint them. We usually go to the pumpkin patch, like I said, and we pick out a pumpkin each, and then what we do is we all paint them. And let me just say, pumpkins are amazing to paint on. If you like painting, then paint a pumpkin this year. They're a really great surface. Just wash it down and then go and paint it. You can spray paint it white even first, or not spray paint it, just paint it white like a primer almost. And then you can start painting on it, and it really, really looks great when you do paint them. You can do all kinds of designs, all kinds of stuff. I should maybe do a pumpkin patch, painting a pumpkin for our tutorial. It'd be fun. Okay, so I'm gonna use the brown. I'm gonna make it a little lighter by adding a little bit of yellow to it. And this is where I'm gonna kind of add some lines that are coming out from where the base of the stem is. And you don't have to line the entire pumpkin. Like your line doesn't have to go all the way down to the bottom. And I kind of do them in different, they have a curve to them. So this one's coming this way, this one's going this way. So one's coming that way, one's coming this way. And they all kind of just coming from the base of the stem. And maybe you're already kind of seeing some lines in there from your, putting your colors in there already. I'm gonna leave the white one for right now. I'm gonna go on back to this one. Again, some of these lines in there. You can kind of decide how many you want to put in there. Add a little bit more orange in there just for fun, just to give it a bit more of a shadow. So you can always go back and add more color, all that, to your pumpkins too, and kind of play around with them. This one. This is my magnet. I can't say that. Magenta. You know what I mean. It's kind of like a purpley red kind of color. Pumpkin. A little bit of orange in there. So if you got thick lines when you're doing these lines, just add some more paint, like some orange, and just go over top of those lines, and that's gonna thin out your lines. Okay. And this one, I'm doing orange and brown together. And I'm gonna do some more lines here. Something like that. There, our pumpkins are coming together. I'm gonna add a little more orange. I think I want this one a little brighter than what it is. As much as I like the light, I just want it to pop a bit more. So I'm adding a little bit more of a orange. And you can do that. You can come back and add more colors, like I said, to make it stand out a little more. Okay. So I'm just gonna do the white one. And that one I'm gonna do in a light brown. I've already put a fair bit of green on there. So I'm gonna put some yellow in with my brown. Same kind of thing. It's gonna have some lines kind of coming down like that. And again, if you're like, oh, that's too thick of a line, too dark, take some white, go over top of it a bit, smear it, smudge it. You can add a little bit of white, even highlights anywhere if you wanted on your pumpkin. So even here, put some white, maybe even on your stems a bit, so they stand out a bit. Oops, that one got a little too much white. Just fix that up with some more brown. So it's really easy to fix. Usually your mistakes, you just paint over it. Most times, sometimes it can be a little tricky depending on what you're wanting to fix. Okay, so we will add some leaves to these too. And some, what I call like little curly cues. You know how they have those little windy, little, I don't know what they're called, like little stems, branches, whatever. I'm gonna use brown and black again to do that. You could do them in green. You want your small brush, because you want a small point for this, have it a little wet, and it could just, you know, it's just kind of coming out. Some of these could even kind of do that. Wind a bit. You can decide how many winding little things you want. Okay, so I'm gonna add some green leaves. You can mix up green by using blue and yellow, or if you have a green, you can use that. I'm using this light olive green, And I'm putting it on pretty heavy, so it's pretty thick. If this is wet, you might want to let that dry before you do that. And I'm just kind of dabbing kind of leaf shape. They're kind of like, you know, they kind of crinkle and they kind of taper off. They're a little thicker at the stem. You could decide, you know, if you want leaves, how many leaves you want. Maybe you don't even want the leaves on there. You don't have to do that. So something like that. Just for another pop of color once again. All right, so there we have our pumpkins, our truck. We're gonna do the outer edge of our truck, the sky. So to do that, I'm gonna have a medium-sized brush, white paint. Oops. I'm gonna have my brush a little wet because I know this is gonna really absorb this. You can do a nice fall sky, which would be like a darker color. I usually do up here is darker. I'm not gonna worry about these edges on my wood because I kind of like these edges like that. But you do what you think would look good for a sky. This, you could go really dark up here on the very top. I think I'm probably gonna be cutting this off. The nice thing about wood is if things are a little off and you need to shift it, you can cut it. So this part I think is a little too tall, so it's uneven, so I'll probably cut that. But for now, I'll paint it just to show you so it does look, see how much darker the top is. And you'll see now, just with using the wood, how much it really is absorbing in my colors. So again, I don't want to have any of my wood peeking through. I want it really covered. So I am using some water to help soak the paint into the wood here. If you're using canvas, you just want to apply your paint. So white and blue, you could do a different color sky altogether. And it's kind of just messy until you get to your truck. So you can even take the time, if you'd rather, to outline it first with your color and then paint it all in. You just want to have enough of a color difference from your truck to your sky so that the sky and the truck don't blend in together. Otherwise, you're gonna lose your truck in the sky. Lose your truck in the sky. So you want a little bit of a difference here of contrast in your colors. I mean, you could too, for fun with wood, you could leave the wood just as it is. If it's a nice piece of wood, you don't even have to paint it. You could leave the wood plain, or you could stain it. You could get some stain and stain all the wood in. So you're not painting in the sky, you're just really accenting the truck. And that would look really nice too. So there's different things you could do depending on what you're wanting to do. Okay, so I'm just putting some of this blue. Again, I'm leaving this side because I really like this side of the wood. And a lot of times you can just go, if you're looking, where do I get wood? You can go to Home Depot or Lowe's or Home Hardware. I mean, if you're watching and you're not in Canada, I'm sure you have other big lumber stores. And I usually will buy like a long plank, I guess, and I get them to cut it down into sections. So I can get like, I don't know, 4 or 5 pieces, sometimes actually 6, depending on the size of them, of these pieces that I'll just paint on them. And I love painting on wood. I actually come to this place that I like painting on wood better than canvas. Because I like that it looks really good if you're using it in your home as home decor. Canvas does too, but it's just a preference thing I'm into right now. It may change in a couple months, who knows. Okay, so I am just filling this in. This is lighter down here, and it is messy. You could put clouds in if you want. So need some more of this darker color. And I'm kind of rough on my brush here because I'm just kind of scrubbing it into the wood. I'm just doing these lots of X's and filling this section in. Getting right up to my truck without hopefully going over it. Ta-da. This is where I get my arm workout. A little bit of arm workout to scrub this in. But luckily it's not too much of sky I have to do here. So most of my canvas is taken out by this truck. And you just want to blend that in. So if you're using different colors in your sky, which looks great, you just want to blend them in really good. Like I said, you could kind of put like some cloud kind of coverage in there too. It could even be a night sky if you wanted. You could do it really dark. As long as you have enough contrast from your truck, as long as that's going to pop out enough against your background. So I'm mixing more white here because I need it. I don't want it too dark or I'm going to lose my truck. In the sky, I don't want to lose it in the sky. And I don't want my sky color to be the same as my truck color. I want to have a difference between the sky and the truck. Contrast. All right. Almost done with the sky. We are going to put some leaves on, falling leaves. Like I said, I haven't seen any really fall, although I did see one earlier, but I haven't seen many leaves falling, put it that way. So our grass here is still pretty green, which I'm grateful for. I don't want to rush fall or summer to go away. So if you get something really dark like that, it's okay. Don't panic. Just work it into your surface and you can add some white to lighten it. I kind of like that now because it's just kind of created this kind of misty kind of look there. Yeah, so if you do get wood to work on, most times you don't even have to sand it because most of those pieces I buy like at Home Depot are smooth. I always find the smoothest side. If they aren't, just give it a light sand and you're ready to go, and it's great. Okay. So you can always come back to that and say, wow, I need to lighten it, or I need to add a different color in here. You can kind of play around with it. It definitely looks different on wood than canvas. So you'll get different effects. I'm gonna just add actually a little bit more white in here because I wanna lighten that a little bit. So I'm just getting my white paint. Having my brush a little bit wet. And I'm just gonna work this in here. Especially around my truck. So you definitely probably will go through way more paint when you're painting on wood, just because, like I said, it does take more paint. So, soaking it in. Although if you prime your wood first, it probably wouldn't. So if you put a primer on it first, probably you'd have a different surface to paint on altogether again. Just play around with it and see what works. right, I'm almost done my sky. Yay! Okay, so what I want to do next is I'm going to do the olive green down here. And you can add a little bit of brown to your olive green, or you can add a little bit of yellow to it. If you have like a bright green, add a little bit of brown if you want it to look more olivey. Yellow, play around with it. The fall colors tend to be a little more, like the greens aren't so bright. Maybe they're more like yellowy green, kind of lime kind of color, or olivey kind of color. So I'm going to take my bright olive green and I'm going to tone it down by adding a little bit of brown in here. And that looks to me like a nice fall shade in there. Now, here's what I do when the skyline and the ground meet. I am just going to smudge this or work it up a little bit. So it looks like there's a little bit of grass. You can, if you're using canvas, you could just smudge it too. And it just kind of is like a really soft blend. I'm just doing that right in there. And I'm going to fill in this section here. I'm going to go right over that chalk line that I did. This is all going to be brown inside of there. But for here, I'm going to color that all in here. And that is my base. And I'm gonna add some leaves in there. So there's gonna be different colors in there too. I really like that. Okay, so I'm gonna mix up some more, add a little more brown to this green. And I'm gonna do the same thing. So here I'm gonna paint here. Probably want to try and make that so that it's even across. You can kind of use your paintbrush and measure that way. And I'm just going around my bumper. And again, I'm just gonna smear that up in here. Nice. Okay. Add a little water to this. And paint around my bumper, go over that nice chalk line I've got in there. Filling in the grass section of this painting. If you're painting on canvas, you probably want to just paint along the side where the canvas wraps around. It'll look more finished, but because I like this edges on this wood, I'm not doing that. All right. Wow, there we go. So next, I'm going to take a smaller brush. I'm going to paint, actually no, I'm going to do that last. Change of mind. I'm going to take the brush I was using before, have it washed, so a medium brush, and we are going to do the wood. We're going to do the road. So I'm going to do some brown with some yellow and white to make this road. And again, you can put black in there. We're gonna do black after, so that's pretty dark. So I'm gonna just work that in, and then I'm gonna add a lot more yellow with this and a lot more white. So here's my yellow. I'm just gonna bring it in really close to there. Right around those wheels, which we will color in after. Pick up some white. So you can see how much I can lighten it up by just putting some white in there. We're gonna have it a little darker underneath the wheels, but we'll fill this section in first because you could probably you could probably leave a lot of your natural wood kind of peeking through with this too, because it would probably look really cool. All right, hopefully everybody's doing good there. Don't be afraid if you do this and you're struggling or you have any questions to contact me. Just leave me a message on Funtastical Studios and I will get back to you. Hopefully I'll be able to help you with any questions that you're having, or if you're having a really hard time mixing colors or getting the colors you want, or whatever questions you have. Be happy to try my best to answer them for you. Okay. I like adding the yellow with the brown. It just gives it a nice warm color. And I'm using water on this wood. Now again, if you're painting on canvas, you're just going to be mixing this without the water. Almost got it. I'll add a little bit more white. Along here. All right, and you want to go right up as close as you can to those wheels. They're going to be painted in black, which we're going to get the black out in a minute. So maybe along the edge here where your grass and your road meet, you could do a darker line. So I'm going to just, get the brown or chocolate brown. And I'm going to just kind of make that a little darker in here. That's where the grass line is. Do the same on this side. And again, you can just kind of rub that in a bit. And then the other thing we're going to do is we're going to have a little bit of a shadow coming underneath where our wheels would be. So we're going to do that actually in black. So the trick to doing this is you don't want much paint on your brush and you just want black. Using the same brush, going right underneath where your wheel would be. And it just is creating this path that this little truck has tracked on. Thing about doing this too is you can use your fingers to blend too, even on wood. You don't want like one solid line. You want like, you know, some of them are kind of jumping out longer than the other. So, and you can just kind of smear it so it doesn't look so, it looks a little more natural. It's a little more blended. Anyways, that's what I like. You might like more, maybe you want more lines and you don't want to blend it as much, so you can do that too. You just kind of play around with it. But again, to do that, you don't need much paint on your brush. I've only got a little bit of black. And that's a little bit, and look at how dark it comes out at first. And then I just work it in. I'm just doing this scrubbing motion again. This little farm truck going to the pumpkin patch, picking up pumpkins. Let's move on to the next step. Okay, so I just put a little bit more dark color underneath here, blending that in. It's a little lighter here, darker underneath where the wheels are, and there you have your road. It's a little bit darker along the edges, okay? I'm going to take my small brush and I'm going to take black paint and I'm going to paint these wheels now. And again, with doing the wheels, you want to try and get them the same size and the same shape. again, because this is kind of a whimsical painting, you could have them a little bit like off and you could get away with it. So once you've got your U kind of painted out, which you probably, it's just going over the chalk, unless you lost some of the chalk in there. Just fill this in with black paint. Go. And so there we have one wheel. And we'll do this wheel. And we are on the home stretch of this painting. So cute. Fill that in. There we are. Okay, so again, if you need to make it darker anywhere, you can do that. Change it up any way you want to. But there's your truck. It's looking great. We're gonna do the leaves, which are fun. There's two ways you can do leaves. You can actually like take a small brush and you can just like draw them out. So I did these in like orange and brown, and you can do like some burgundy kind of color leaves, some yellow, some green. You could do a lot of different leaves. So you could just kind of draw like a leaf and fill it in, and they're just kind of falling, and you have them just kind of going in different directions, and then they're like more defined, which is kind of great. But then they're all kind of contained. Like you'll see the edges of them. If you want your leaves a little more crazy, you could take your brush that's got a nice rounded edge to it, and you could take your paint and you would just kind of dab your leaf. And it's not so contained, but it gives it a completely different look. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see that on my video. Hopefully I can zoom in closer. And you can kind of decide, you know, what you like. This you don't have the same control over, so you're not going to get the nice, real defined leaves. But they are kind of fun, these ones too. So I'm going to just do a bunch here. I'm still, even though I'm like dabbing it, I'm still trying to do the shape of what a leaf would be. And so this is like an orange, kind of rusty color. So maybe you want some different colors in there too. You can decide how many leaves. So let's say you want to do like a burgundy. You could do like red with a little bit of brown, and that kind of gives you like a burgundy kind of color with that rich kind of red, purpley almost kind of color that you see sometimes in these. You could do the greens, whatever you kind of want to. I'll put some of these in here. And hopefully your sky is dry. If it's not dry, you're gonna want it to dry. Because you can stop and start this video, you can just simply get your hair dryer if you're in a hurry. I blow dry my paintings all the time and dry it, and then you'll be ready to go. So it's kind of fun. Okay, so this one I'm not gonna go too crazy. You can even put some yellow. If you really wanna get creative, you could throw in maple leaves. If you're in Canada, the maple leaves, put those in there. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now is this area here is gonna be also gonna have some of these. So some of these colors that I used here, I'm just gonna simply dab them. on both sides on the green part, and just shows like, so they're not like dots, they're kind of like laying, so they're kind of more flat when I'm doing this, like little lines. I'm gonna do some orange, trusty little. And again, you can kind of decide how many leaves, how much you're into fall. I guess we determine how many leaves you're going to put down. I'm going to do, what else do I want to put? Oh, brown and orange. Regular and orange here. So just some different colors. You can throw some yellow in there too, just to lighten things up, which I think I'll do. Put some yellow in. You can overlap some of these with some yellow. So we are so close to finishing this beautiful fall painting. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just do a little bit of grass coming up here. I'm going to do it really light, so I'm going to just take yellow and white and even just have some very faintly, like it's like there's some shoots of grass or wheat or whatever it is in the distance. You could just use white if you wanted to. All right, so now the fun part. It's all been fun. Okay, so now on your license plate, you get to decide what you want to write. So you might want to just write your initials. You might want to write fall. You might want to write your name, whatever. So if this is hanging outside of your, on your porch, it might be fun. You could even make your license plate a little bit bigger, like a longer one, like the European license plates, and write your last name so that people know when they come to your house, they're at the right house. Or you could just write fall. So I'm just gonna, because I made mine short and my last name, Preston, isn't gonna fit in there. So I'm gonna just write fall. I'm gonna do it in red and yellow, or red and orange, sorry, lettering. And these are just in big block letters. So F, I'm sure you all know how to spell fall, A, L, L, and that's kind of fun. Now, if you're really struggling to write letters, you can use a Sharpie. Just make sure it's dry. If it's not dry, it's gonna kill your Sharpie really quick. So you could use, you could definitely use a Sharpie or a paint pen. Paint pens are great. They work really great. Or if you could just do it freehand like that. And if it looks bad after you freehand it, you could just smudge it a little bit, make it look like, it's got a little rust on it. It's supposed to look like that. Okay, so for the hello fall, I am gonna put up this little guy here. This is the little lettering that I used. So I'm gonna put it up. You can print it off and you can decide what size you want it, and how you're gonna transfer that onto your painting is you would take the back of it, you'd get like a piece of charcoal, something that would smudge or something that will come off, or chalk again, but a dark piece of chalk or a soft pastel, and you're gonna trace the letters, okay? You're gonna trace it on the back, and then when you go to put it on here, you're gonna press it down and you're gonna have the print come on there. It's gonna be very faint, but it should be enough that you can then start to take your paint pen, your Sharpie, your paint, and write it out yourself. Or you can do it with a pencil where you put it on here and you're just gonna press really super hard, or a pen, even a pen would work better, like a ball tip pen, and you press really hard and it will engrave it a little bit in there, but then you'll know exactly where the letters go, and then you would just trace over them with, again, with a Sharpie or a pencil or a paint pen. Okay, so this, hopefully this is gonna, work. I did on a Cricut machine. If you have a Cricut machine, you can do these. These are great. And what you're gonna do, let me just make sure this is gonna stick on. Might be harder to show you up here. If you have a Cricut, you want it on your transfer tape. So it goes on your tape first. You're gonna peel it. Hopefully it's gonna peel. Ah, it was on earlier. Should have left it. Anyways, you're gonna put it on here, and then you're gonna put it onto your painting, and then you're gonna pull the tape off, and you're gonna have Hello Fall, and it's gonna look super. Super. Okay, so here we have, and then you can kind of decide where you want to put this guy. I'm gonna put him right in there. I'm gonna pull the tape off, but first I need to make sure it's gonna go on my wood. Where did I put that? Oh, there it is. Okay, so first I'm gonna just really rub this on. You want this dry. If it's not dry, it's not gonna work very good. So I'm just using, you could use probably a credit card. This is a wooden piece that I use for clay. Works good, usually. And I'm just transferring it right onto my wooden board. You can do this on canvas as well, and hopefully it's going to work out for me and stick. There we have it. Hello Fall. Okay, I'm just gonna do one more thing that I almost forgot, and that's put these little fun lights on the back of the truck. They're gonna be done in like a red orange, and that's gonna make this pop a bit. So they're oval. I'm gonna have one here, and again, you're just gonna try and make them equal on both sides. So this is red paint with orange. See how it just like draws your eye in? Okay, and then we're gonna do one here. And like so. Try and get them as equal as you can. I know it's hard, but there you go. You want to have those in there. It just adds to your truck, I think. Okay, so there we have Hello Fall. Finished, and again, you can add whatever, wherever you need to. But that is the gist of it. If you're gonna hang this up, you could just put it on a bale of hay on your porch. You could drill some holes, put a nice wire, hang it somewhere, lean it up against your pumpkins, whatever. There's lots you could do with it. Hang it in your house, put it on your mantle. So anyways, I just want to say thank you so much for joining me in this video. I hope that your fall is amazing this year, that it's a great fall for you guys. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments, or you can send me a message with Funtastical Studios, and I will get back to you as much as I can. We also have a virtual tip jar up. This is free for you guys to do the video. However, if you want to leave me a tip, you can do that. There is a virtual tip jar with a link, so you're welcome to use that. Otherwise, I'm going to say hello fall, and I hope you guys have enjoyed yourself, and bye for now.